A hotel on Route 132 gets the go-ahead to start making improvements following a lengthy zoning board of appeals meeting. Bond sales are bringing in money for local projects, and a solar project on a capped landfill in town is also moving forward. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Thursday, November 14th, 2013. I'm Sarah Mantle. A slew of municipal projects will receive funding from bond proceeds. This week, Town Treasurer Deborah Blanchette received competitive bids from bond underwriters for a $6.2 million 10-year bond issue. FTN Financial Capital Markets was the winner out of 8 bids with an average interest rate of 1.57%. Prior to the bond sale, Standard & Poor's affirmed the town's AAA bond rating, the highest rating available. Proceeds from the sale will be used to fund projects like public road improvements, building renovations, waterway improvements, and more. The Days Inn on Route 132 in Hyannis will soon be getting an upgrade. The hotel will soon transition to a Fairfield Inn, add a second story, and upgrade the exterior landscaping. Last night, the Zoning Board of Appeals approved plans for the project. Before the vote and discussion amongst the board, attorney Mike Crossan described some of the proposed changes.
As you can see, we've worked with the architect very diligently, trying to make some changes to the Cape Cod location. Opposed to the flat roof that we originally had, we came up with some dormers in the front. We did change the roof lines, as you'll see in your packet, that instead of having a continuous roof line across the top, we've now stepped up the plate level on the ends in a couple different locations, keeping in mind the 30-foot elevation that we have to stay within. So we are still within that elevation.
Crossan said that Marriott executives may want to make some minor changes to those plans. For example, Marriott wants to change the gable at the hotel entrance and possibly remove the point. Board member Bill Newton expressed concerns about approving the plans when the zoning board would not get a chance to review them and suggested making the owners appear again at a meeting in December. Attorney Crossan said the company could not postpone the renovation any further and said another delay would kill the project.
I mean, it's hard to approve something that is now going to be the subject of more discussion and negotiation with somebody outside of the board, the planning director.
May I comment just for a moment,
making the final decision as to whether she accepts or doesn't accept what you come up with.
We're just discussing here, but I think in general terms, we approve plans, and there are some minor modifications that are done by the building inspectors that we don't never see because we're not getting building plans. Actually, we're just getting schematics here on any hearing that we ever do.
Okay, call it a schematic. Then.
Right.
Call it an architectural
Well, what we're saying is
that I would like to see done.
Yes, and I think they agree with you.
You can talk about it, but
they agree with you, Bill.
Well, if it changes, if somehow
substantially
within
changes
the negotiations and the discussions between you folks and Marriott, there's disagreements, then perhaps you need to come back.
Well,
I know you don't want to do that, and I don't want you to either, which is why I'd like to be rather specific about what we're saying we approve. So I agree with George.
Mr. Newton, if I could just for a second, it's in all candor untenable for us to come back. This project won't get done if we don't, in all candor, get approval done and get it done in a timely basis. I would concur that this is not a landscape committee, excuse me, an architectural committee. That having been said, we're doing everything we can, and by the way, many of us live here, to make this a nice project. The truth of it is every single one of us sitting on this side of the room wants to build this. We are all, however, mindful, if I may, just for a moment, we are all very mindful of the fact that in order to have a flag, we need at some level to accommodate them. We very much believe that We're going to make very few changes to this at the end of the day in our conversations with Marriott, and they're going to push back hard on them. We just need to know that we can build our project. I think it's entirely consistent with the law, by the way, for you folks, for what it's worth, for you folks to approve this, understanding that we're in these negotiations with Marriott, and to provide to growth management the authority to confirm the substantial conformity of the project after those negotiations are completed.
Ultimately, the Zoning Board of Appeals unanimously approved all but 3 of the special permits and variances needed. When offered the chance to come back for the remaining 3, Crossend declined, saying they would just have to work with what they have. A project to install solar panels at the landfill at the transfer station in Marston's Mills is moving forward. Energy Coordinator Richard Alrick says the necessary paperwork for the project was received this week.
As I'd mentioned, I think previously to everybody, there's been a lot of back and forth with the financiers on these projects. What we had originally anticipated as being final documents, we had to adjust. And then finally now, after lots of negotiations, the town manager has signed off on the new documents, and my understanding is that construction should literally begin within the next couple of weeks over at the Cap landfill. And actually, much of this is driven by timing requirements. The developers have to procure at least 50% of all of the materials, or I should say expend 50% of all of the cost for the project by the end of the year. So for all of these solar projects, not only in Barnstable but in other communities, the work has to begin very quickly to take advantage of the financial benefits that flow from these projects, particularly with respect to net metering, as well as SRECs as well. They all have time frames that we're working with. So we're excited that this project's going to be moving forward. Of course, I shouldn't say positively until I actually see solar panels up there, but we're very excited. We really think that we've crossed that crucial threshold. And this is a large project. This is a 4 megawatt size project. It's going to occupy about 17 acres of the capped landfill, using about actually in excess of 14,000 individual solar panels.
Wow.
So it's a very
cool,
very big system. In the first year, it's going to produce over 5 million kilowatt hours, and the first year savings are going to be in the range of about $270,000 to $275,000, and over the course of the 20-year contract, in excess of $5 million.
Alrick expects that project to be installed by late spring. Alrick is also trying to bring a grant program to Barnstable that has been successful in Bourne. He says he applied for the Solarized Massachusetts grant.
Which really essentially is a partnership between the town, the Mass Clean Energy Center, and the selected developers. As a result of sort of a coordinated education and outreach effort and a tiered pricing model, so that the more people who sign up, the better the install price becomes. And that's what makes it so effective. And then plus the fact that the Mass Clean Energy Center does an RFP to installers, we guarantee that we get, for these solarized programs, the best install price that's available. In Bourne, the costs for residents and businesses was to install these systems was about 20 to 30% less than it would be on the retail market, because as a result of the RFP, a result of the competitive nature of that RFP, you get a lot of developers, a lot of installers that are coming in with the very best price they can, because they know they're getting a fairly substantial number of new projects to work on. In Bourne, we, over the course of the 5 months for the program, signed up 22 people,
Excellent.
22 families, and about 150 kilowatts of roof-mounted solar was installed. So in Barnstable, if we get chosen as one of the 8 communities for this second round, I mean, I would certainly look to and hope that we could get at least 50 additional solar installations in Barnstable.
We will keep you updated on that grant application. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.